Hello, everybody, and welcome to this presentation. I was gonna present this at Offdem, but it didn't work out because I joined in too spontaneously. But I hope it will be fine this way. I think the concepts I'm presenting are beneficial to the community, and I really hope to get your feedback and to you people also really challenging the ideas and concepts I'm going to be presenting here. So let's get right started. I'm going to be presenting about interconnectivity for social networks. Interconnectivity I call a special approach when designing protocols for different systems, and we're going to apply this for social networks. So let's get right started. I will start with some basics and then we get technical really quick. With social networking, I talk about any kind of online communication, so the internet messaging, the media sharing, the blogging, your friend networks, but also any kind of special feature software. So the situation is you can only communicate with each other if you're within the same system. This applies for the mainstream, but also for our open source community. But even if you have decentralized systems, if they don't work together, you cannot communicate across them. And this leads to problems. Like first, you cannot communicate with people from other systems. To be connected to everybody, you need many applications. You do have limited self-determination. That's a big issue. So if I want to communicate with my friends and people, we do need to agree on the same technology, and this leads to the monopoly of single providers due to the network effect. So because everybody needs to be in the same system to be communicating with each other. So the idea for interconnectivity for social networks is to provide communication across networks to ensure that people can communicate even if their systems are not compatible. And we will talk about how to make this happen real quick. The advantages of this is that everybody is connected, and that you can you only need one application to connect to everybody. I mean, if you want to have multiple applications, of course that works. You have the full digital self-determination, so you can decide yourself how and when you have software autonomy, you have network autonomy, all these kind of nice things. And the market opens up. So you can have more different technologies working together, and people can even choose smaller technologies but still be connected to the contacts. Okay, so let's get technical. How to make this happen? So the option A is to design some interoperability protocol that just makes every use case happen. For social networking, I believe this is hardly possible and impractical, and not even a good approach. It's really important that there are technologies that work in really different ways. And as we see, not even for instant messaging, we can get it just right. There are the different protocols not being fully compatible with each other. And for such a diverse use case as like the general social networking area field, it just really doesn't seem quite possible. And maybe it will be possible in the future. We are not there yet. So the option B is accepting that not all technologies will be fully compatible, and then finding the minimal shared requirements to ensure communication. And this is what we're gonna call interconnectivity from a technical approach. So to find the minimal requirements that communication can be shared. And so what is this minimal approach? So the minimal approach for communication to happen is, and that's because like human-to-human communication, to involve also the human brain. If I want to share something with someone and they are presented it on their phone, the communication happened. So that's what the minimal approach to have. If two systems are not compatible with each other, we do need a transmission of the data, but then we say, okay, the communication should just be displayed right in the user's client. That's a very easy and basic approach. How can this can look like this? Like just in the client, you will have an extra inbox, or it's included in the feed, or you have some net neutral source, and it's best if it's just integrated in already existing networks. Like people already have their hosters and the global addresses, and just wherever you are, those technologies can adapt the interconnectivity. This is the vision. Like we will see which providers will choose to implement it. We are not there yet. It's just like some on how this could look like. What is actually needed? I mean, you will need a standard that the different applications agree upon. So the responsibilities are the package transmission securely, the embedded experience, so the markup language, and to enable partial interoperability. I will talk in a second what I mean about this. So the components will be needed, like the addressing, the authentication, and the syntax for the package transmission, and the markup and the interaction handling for the embedded experience. And the challenges, of course, are security and privacy needs to be stay there. The user autonomy needs to be fully granted. So even if I interact if someone initiates a conversation with me from a system I'm not part of, I should not have to accept those standards. Of course, I need to be needs to be ensured, and it should be minimal. So the tag should be so the less is defined by the standard, the more open each of the networks can be and vary from each other. Exactly. So let's talk about interconnectivity and interoperability working together. So interoperability is great to connect different networks, to have a standard that helps you transmit any format and any functionality, and then you can work together. But in very diverse systems, there's a problem that if the networks only partially implement the protocol, then already the communication fails. This is what we see in reality happening with projects like ActivityPub or XMPP. And so the goal is here to implement the interconnectivity as well as a fail-safe structure, so that this minimal requirements are always met. Like so, and this is the lesson. If you design interoperability protocols, it's great to give a rich tool set and to give the networks a lot they can use together, but there also should be defined what is the minimal requirement so the communication can happen, because this is what matters in the end for the user, that they can communicate with each other. And then if fully interoperability networks can work together, they don't need the interconnectivity. And if you have partial interoperability, you can use that, but also can ensure full communication through interconnectivity. This is the point. And once you do this, actually you get for free that even networks who share no interoperability can ensure full communication. This is the goal. And to again make this sure, so interoperability is better than just interconnectivity. So if the different systems actually meaningfully interact, that gives more features, more security, and more redundancy, and so that systems doesn't get lost. But then again, wherever the full interoperability is not available, and it is not available anywhere, then interconnectivity is better than no connectivity. Like users do want to communicate. This is the use case we are solving, and we should have this in mind when designing interoperability protocols. Okay, so how do we get this done? This is organized by the Iconet Foundation. Like in the picture, it's actually old. We are now 5 people. And we founded a non-profit organization just for this process. Iconet stands for Interconnected Networks. And of course, this is going to be a community effort. Like it's of course we need to find a tech optimal solution, but way more important is to get a big table and get everybody on the same table, everybody involved, so that the activity pub, the matrix, the XMPP, and a lot more people from different technology aspects need to be sitting together. So everybody who wants the system to be interconnected needs to agree on the basic standards we mentioned earlier, like addressing, authentication, and then build for interconnectivity. So the plan is we are right now here at the prototyping, like we did 2 years of research. We will submit a structural proposal for the standard. We will have this externally reviewed, so a lot of work can be done before we get this big table together, so that the actual work of the many actors in the committee is minimal. But then we will have a community process on actually getting a standard recommendation for. So we the goal is that those people who will implement it have been at the table deciding it themselves. So it's not our approach to just design the 15th standard. We just want to get the people together and actually so it can be systems integration can follow. Genau. So what are the takeaways? We are done here now. When designing any kind of interoperability for diverse systems, make sure the core functionality is ensured. If you're building communication systems, but the communication is limited, there is a problem with the protocol. For social networks, we identified that the core functionality is presenting the communication. Like if you have some complex interaction, you just can present the other user with this interaction next to the media and then catch the interaction. So throw the package, throw a markup, and catch the interaction. And this is the basic principle. And now, why is this so important? The open networks we already have, plus if we get some consistent user experience, then actually the functionality that is provided is much bigger than this from the established networks. Like the Facebook and the Instagram, there is not so much functionality wise. And if we get our shit together, sorry for my language, that from the one network, there is ensured that you also can reach people from the other network within the activity pub, but also throughout other projects. If this can be ensured, I think we are ready to actually for some structural change for the better. Yeah, that's why this is important. That's so much for the presentation. Thank you so much. Here are my contacts if you want to contact me. And now for the open discussion. Like I would have loved to have in person, but you can always text me or maybe we find some place to discuss this. Tell me about any question or ideas. And I'm interested to learn to which networks and projects do you think such a concept is useful for which is it not? What problems do you see in this approach? What should we look out for? What do you require of the standard to include your favorite tech? And now I'm especially interested to learn about the peer-to-peer and other utopia software. So I've mainly been looking and working with federalization, so server to server. From the general approach, I don't see any problems. Why from a peer-to-peer system you couldn't follow the principle throw content and the markup format and catch the interactions should also be working from a client-only peer-to-peer approach. But yeah, I'm interested to learn on the thoughts on this. And then also from your experience, like for this open process with a lot of people getting together. If you have any experience there, what needs to make this project actually work, I'm also really interested to learn your feedback. And then the call for action. And we are looking for funding opportunities, like we have applied already at many of this, but if you have any contacts in this regard, this is what the project which we just want to have figured out so we can continue developing. But also like for any of these pieces, like, I mean, you can get involved right now in our prototype development. It's open. If you have organizations that you think it would be valuable if they externally review our proposal, our concepts, drop them by. Everybody that wants to sit at this table for the open committee, tell us. We do want to learn about networks that potentially are interested in interconnectivity, and also everybody that's just interested in organizing this process. Yeah, if you know someone, let us know whom we should contact for this. So that's it from me. I'm gonna display my contact information again in the end. Thank you so much. I really would have loved if we could had this open discussion in person, but it didn't work out. I still wanted to share. That's it for me, and see you next time.